Ahoy hoy and welcome to ChinnyVision. This time we're having some three-way action with IK+. International Karate by Archer Maclean was a big hit on the Commodore 64 and lots of other systems, and I guess what Archer asked himself is, hey, I've done a one-on-one fighter, like Way of the Exploding Fist and Year Kung Fu, but what would happen if there were three fighters all fighting each other at once? 8-bits have lots of really good fighting games, the aforementioned International Karate, of course, Year Kung Fu, Way of the Exploding Fist, so to try and find a new way to put a twist on this was a really smart idea. So the Commodore 64 version boots up and it starts off in demo mode and you see these beautiful graphics. And the thing that actually strikes you is the animation in the background and all the different things that are going on and this fantastic Rob Hubbard music. A Mr. Miyagi style figure there appears at various points in the games, including on the menu screen. And here we go. I'm the white player on the left and I'm playing against the red player and the blue player. Having three players on the screen at once adds strategy to the game because you may be tackling one player, for example the red, and then the blue will come up behind you and kick you and things like that. When the players start off, you might think that it's you versus the two computer players who might be working together, but actually they're fighting each other as well as you. What you've got to do in each belt is basically survive in terms of being... you have to be knocked out less times than the other two players. And then the Mr. Miyagi figure will appear after the counter on the top right. It finishes counting down. White wins, blue and red could do better. If you come last, you are eliminated. Every third round, you have to deflect these balls for bonus points. And keep in mind how fast they're moving here on the Commodore 64 version when we come to look at some of the other versions. This can be quite a challenge. It's a nice respite from the fighting, because I have to say the fighting gets a little bit repetitive. It's not like Year Kung Fu, where there's a different opponent every level. It's always red and blue fighting against you. They're also fighting each other. So I've been eliminated now, and I will probably get a high score, hopefully. With IK+, you can play against the computer as one player against the two other players. You can play against one other person, if you wish, on the joystick on the Commodore 64. Or you can go for the full three-way fight, in which case on the C64 one of you is going to be on the keyboard. Here we are on the Amstrad, and it looks ostensibly the same. Narrow screen, which is slightly annoying. I don't know why they've done that, perhaps to speed things up, because the Amstrad screen memory requiring 16K. Colours are the same. Perhaps there's purple C in the background. There's no need for that on the Amstrad. I don't know why they've gone for purple. The Amstrad's got some really nice blues to use. There's a deep royal blue that you see on the title screen they could have used. So I'm a little bit confused there why they've gone for this purple. I also have to say that it looks like the sprites are being ported from the Commodore 64, which makes them look a little bit blocky. And remember what I said about the ball, speed the balls move. Here on the Amstrad, they move really, really slowly. They do speed up, but it's much easier than the Commodore 64 version where the balls come at you really quickly. You also don't on the Amstrad, as far as I can see, you get little things like opponents' players' heads and things coming at you and different things, so that's one little touch that's missing. Tune's been converted across the Amstrad, but I say they might have done a slightly better job. The AY chip can probably do better than this. It just seems slightly tuneless compared to the Commodore 64, and that's not the chip. I think that's just the way it's been ported across. This is just far too easy, it has to be said. No, it's pretty boring after a while. because actually this is supposed to be a fighting game, not bonus stage game. Finally, one of the balls hits me, and you don't lose life when that happens, it's just the end of the bonus stage. Ostensibly, it plays the same as the Commodore 64 version once you get down to it. All the moves are there, it's just a little bit slower and just not quite as polished, really. Moving across to the Spectrum, this is a 128K version running on a Spectrum Plus 2. Of course, on the Spectrum there's colour limitations, so we are grey, stippled grey and black, which is quite annoying, with black, grey and white, apparently, according to Mr. Miyagi. Players also appear to have a paunch when they're side on, which is a bit weird. Love the animation in the background there on the Spectrum, nice use of colours on the sea there, it really looks good. These graphics look slightly messy here on the Spectrum as well. Again, like they've been ported across from the Commodore 64 using some automated conversion tool. You just see weird artefacts going on, just those wide pixels there. I think that's probably what's happened. Someone's ported this across using an automated tool from the Commodore 64, which is a shame, because with a little bit more polish, this could be one of the best fighters on the Spectrum, but it just looks messy there. You see it far more on this bonus stage. And again, the bonus stage suffers from the speed problems the Amstrad version has. On the Spectrum, there's not so much excuse, really, because your Specky's got fairly efficient display, which can throw things around fairly quickly. Games like Pang have no problems with far bigger ball sprites than we see here. Overall, the Specky version's a bit of a shame. Perhaps they could have just spent a little bit more time polishing it up, having slightly better player sprites without that slightly converted graphics look. And again, same music problem as the Amstrad version. The AY version of the tune is a little bit tuneless. So, IK Plus got ported to the brand new 16-bit systems. Going to be looking at the Amiga version here. Nice title screen and some really nice music. Really great conversion of the tune across to the Amiga. A really nice polished menu screen here. Look at those different colour sprites going across, all fighting this Archer, showing off what the 16-bit systems could potentially do, which is so nice to see on an early period Amiga game. You could just listen to this tune all day on the Amiga. It looks like once Archer Maclean got hold of the 16-bit systems, he wanted to use every trick in the book. That said, this game apparently took 6 months to develop on a PC development system for the ST, and then was ported across to the Amiga in a week. So we are dealing with an ST port here. Wonderful graphics, so colourful, brilliant animation. Looks so nice. It's the Commodore 64 version and more. It's really good. One slight thing is, whenever you make a kick or punch, and whether you make contact or not, you get the sound effect, which is a bit odd if you're just punching in the air or something where you miss. You hear contact being made, which is slightly disconcerting. But this is so detailed and so nice, and this little Pac-Man sprite appearing in the background here. Now, the Commodore 64 version has these little animations. You can see fish jumping up and down there, but again, here on the Amiga, they've really gone for it. And the bonus speed moves much more like the Commodore 64 version. Much more variation in the balls, different objects coming in. Really nice. And far more of a challenge. Overall on the Amiga, I think this is a game criminally ignored, if I tell the truth, because it's an early period Amiga game. Most people probably picked this up on budget, perhaps many years later, and probably ignored it in favour of more flashy games like Street Fighter 2, Final Fight, and things like that, because, okay, it's a port from an 8-bit at the end of the day, it's an 8-bit style fighter. There's nothing wrong with having an 8-bit style fighter on the Amiga, especially when it's as polished as this and uses the hardware. Okay, it's an ST port, so perhaps it's not using the full Amiga hardware, but at least it's using 16-bit hardware to give a really polished 8-bit gaming experience on the 16 bits. IK Plus is still an absolute classic today. The cream of the crop are the Amiga and the Commodore 64 versions. Whichever takes your pick. The Amiga version has everything the Commodore 64 version has, but with bells and whistles and polish and everything else that you'd expect on a 16-bit micro. The Amstrad version, I'm afraid, I'd much rather play Yar Kung Fu on the Amstrad, I'm sorry. It's full screen, there's more variation in the gameplay, better animation, it's a better game for the Amstrad owners. On the Spectrum, what a shame there wasn't a little bit more polish on there, because it could be one of the better games on the system, but frankly, and this also applies to the Amstrad version as well actually, I'd rather play Way of the Exploding Fist. It's not a bad game on the Spectrum or the Amstrad, it's just not as polished or as finished as the Commodore 64 and Amiga versions, which is a bit of a shame. But if you've got a C64 or Amiga, it's a must-own game. On the Spectrum and Amstrad, it's a nice to have, not more really. No C64 or Amiga owner should be without IK Plus.